Hi folks, and welcome to this video on Act 4, Scene 1 of Macbeth. Now, in this scene, Macbeth goes back to visit the witches again to get some more advice from them. He's really feeling under pressure. He's killed Duncan, he's ordered the murder of Banquo, but Fleance has escaped, and he's also worried because Macduff has left, and he's additionally worried because he's starting to think that people might figure out that he is the murderer, and he's tormented by guilt and the fear of punishment as well. So there's all sorts of things going on in Macbeth's mind. But before he comes on the stage, Shakespeare shows us the witches preparing for Macbeth's arrival, and they're making a potion that they're going to give Macbeth. Now, before we get into that, let's do a quick knowledge check. So stop the video, jot down your answers to these questions, do your best, see what you can do, and then start the video again to get the answers. Okay, so malevolent means evil. It's a word that we often use to describe the witches. Fair is foul and foul is fair. Well, fair means things that are good. Foul means things that are bad or evil or corrupt. So the idea here is that of a facade. Things that look good on the outside might actually be corrupt and evil underneath. And we see that theme all the way through the play. The witches give prophecies that sound good to Macbeth, but actually lead him to his downfall. They corrupt him. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth put on a facade of goodness to King Duncan, of loyalty and patriotism, but in reality they're being the serpent underneath because they're planning his murder. The location the witches are associated with in the play is the Heath. This is outside of human civilization. It's in the wilderness. In this scene, they're in a cave or a cavern, which is really entrapping and it's really claustrophobic as well. In terms of the rhythm the witches speak in, this is totally different from the way the other characters speak. So Shakespeare uses this rhythm to set them apart and to emphasize their difference from the human characters. So they're chanting, they're doing incantations, and Shakespeare uses a lot of rhyme to suggest this, and also the rhythm of trochaic tetrameter. And the title of King James I's book was The Demonology. Okay, let's have a look at the scene. Just a bit of a trigger warning here. Some of the ingredients that we're going to be talking about that the witches put into their potion are quite distressing, they're quite upsetting. So if you want, you could skip to the end of this video for a summary, or you could skip to the next video as well, because as I say, some of the ingredients are really extremely unpleasant. So it's in a dark cave. In the middle we have a cauldron boiling, and as I read, I want you to think, what do you notice about the ingredients? So thunder, enter three witches. Thrice the brinded cat hath mewed, thrice and once the hedge pig whined, harpier cries, 'tis time, 'tis time. So here the witches realise it's time to get their potion ready. Macbeth is on his way. The first witch. Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw, toad that under cold stone, days and nights has 31, sweltered venom sleeping got, boil lie in the first charmed pot. And all the witches double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Second witch. Fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake, eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blindworm's sting, lizard's leg and harlot's wing, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth boil and bubble. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf, witch's mummy, maw and gulf, of the ravened salt sea shark, root of hemlock digged in the dark, liver of blaspheming Jew, gall of goat and slips of yew, slivered in the moon's eclipse, nose of Turk and Tartar's lips, finger of birth strangled babe, ditch delivered by a drab, make the gruel thick and slab, and thereto a tiger's children, for the ingredients of our cauldron. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Cool it with a baboon's blood, then the charm is firm and good. Okay, so pause the video, have a quick skim through again, and think, what do you notice about the ingredients? Do they all have something in common? So most of the ingredients are from living beings, from animals or from humans. The second witch adds things like the eye of newt, the tongue of dog, so you can think about how they're mutilating animals to add these ingredients to the potion. If that wasn't bad enough, the third witch adds ingredients that come from human beings, not just from animals. So at the bottom of the first column there, the third witch talks about witch's mummy. Now, mummy is also referred to in Othello, and it's not a mummy as in a mother, but a mummy as in think of Egypt, think of the pyramids. So mummy would be a liquid or a substance that would be extracted from a mummified body. So absolutely horrific. And not just that, but also at the time that the play was written, it was illegal for people to extract parts of dead bodies to use for witchcraft. So it's not just disgusting, immoral, malevolent, totally wrong on every level, but it's also illegal at the time that the play was written. And in the second column there, and this is what's particularly distressing about what the witches say, is the finger of birth strangled babe. So this is a baby who's been strangled as soon as they're born. And the baby has been born in a ditch by a drab, so by a prostitute or something like that. So it's a really, really distressing image. And for Shakespeare's audience, it would have been particularly distressing because if the baby has been strangled at birth, it means it hasn't been baptized into the Christian faith. And a lot of the people who are referred to in this scene wouldn't have been baptized into Christianity as well. I'm not going to go into that in a huge amount of detail in this particular video. But the main idea here is that Shakespeare is emphasizing the witch's malevolence. They're prepared to kill, to maim, to mutilate in order to make this potion. And if the witches are malevolent, then the fact that Macbeth is going to go to them for advice in this scene, that reveals that he has given himself over to the dark side as well. He's prepared to be in league with these forces of darkness. Now we're going to look at a key quotation, which is this, and it's probably the most famous quotation from the play. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. It's so satisfying to say, partly because of the rhythm, partly because of the rhyme as well. And the first thing I want to look at in this quotation is the word double. Now, double in Shakespeare's time comes with the idea of double speak or double meanings. And this is linked with a word that's equivocation. Now, equivocation means saying one thing and thinking another. And it's a word that was a bit of a hot topic at Shakespeare's time, partly because of all of the double dealings that were going on. So if you think about things like the Gunpowder Plot, where we have a Catholic plot and the Catholic plotters are planning to explode Parliament with King James inside. Now, they would have to say one thing and think another all of the time as they're doing their plotting. And we see equivocation in the play as well. The witches give their fair quotations to Macbeth, but they're planning to lead him to his downfall. So they might be saying to him, that shall be king hereafter, you will be Thane of Cawdor, all of that. But in their minds, they're thinking, we're going to destroy you. And Macbeth and Lady Macbeth do the same thing. They also equivocate. They look like the innocent flower, but there's a serpent under it. So they welcome Duncan into their castle. All the time, what they're actually thinking is, we're going to kill you. So this idea of double, double, toil and trouble might be linked in with the concept of equivocation in the play. The other thing that might be suggested by this word is increasing the power of the spell over Macbeth. So they're doubling the strength of their magic over him. It could also be to do with doubling the number of witches as well. So in the version that I've shown you on the screen, Hecate enters on her own, but in some versions of the play, and there's lots of different versions because of, well, we're not going to go into it, printing and whatever at the time. In some versions of the play, there's a stage direction that Hecate brings on 3 additional witches as well. And there's some film versions of this play where you have lots and lots of witches in this scene, not just 3 of them. So we're doubling and doubling the number of witches, again, increasing the evil, increasing the power of the spell over Macbeth. Okay, what I want you to do is just pause the video and I want you to write a paragraph about this quotation, including as many of these ideas as you can, and then start the video again when you're ready. Right, so my final question for you on this video is, why does Shakespeare include this scene? So pause the video, have a little think, start the video again when you're ready. Well, firstly, it was to flatter King James I. Shakespeare uses many of the ideas James wrote about in the demonology. James was obsessed with witches, and Shakespeare really draws on those ideas in the play. It could also be to amplify the sense of malevolence. We have these really horrific ingredients that the witches put into the cauldron, and we have more witches on stage, and they're doubling the strength of their spells over Macbeth. So it's really amplifying the malevolence and then emphasizing the witch's power over Macbeth as well. Okay, it's a long scene, so we're going to break it into sections, and I'll look at the next section of this in the next video.